Welcome everybody. Programming are basically a fundamental part of computer science. They are fundamental tools that programmers toolbox, right? And crucial to almost every programming activity that you do. So selecting between programming languages is often confusing, let alone choosing between the most popular ones like Java or Python. So Python and Java have been battling for the top positions as the most popular programming languages out there, with Python making amazing progress in the last few years and Java holding on to its position. So often seems that these languages are perfect, and in fact they're capable of doing most of the tasks out there. However, there are main big differences that can help you formulate your decision which one to use. So let's start by explaining each language key characteristics, and then I'm going to compare different fields in computer science to provide more clarity on your choices. So first, let's take a look at Java, right? So Java is a statically typed general programming language. It is an object-oriented and concurrent language. Java was basically meant to be WORA, once, run, anywhere, right? It was designed to run on any platform, with this platform with few dependencies with the help of Java Virtual Machine, JVM. So let's take a look at Python now. Python, on the other hand, is a dynamically purpose programming language. So it began at a research institute in Netherlands, basically, right? The original motivation behind Python was to create a higher level language to bridge the gap between C and Shell, according to its author. So creating basically system admin utilities, using C was pretty complicated back at the time. So the syntax was also motivated by other languages like Algol 6.8, Pascal, and ABC, and was meant to be readable and fairly clean. So as far as the syntax is concerned between the two languages, Python is a dynamically typed language, right? So when you write Python code, you don't really need to determine variable types, as the interpreter itself will infer these types and checks will be made at runtime, which results in an easier syntax that is quite similar to the English language. And also, Python doesn't really use any closing braces, right? And just, kind of follows indentation rules like people typically normally would write a code, right? It's quite easy to read and friendly for beginners. That's why I always recommend to begin with is Python. So for example, a simple class called football, right, will be executed when you actually create an instance of the object, and then define two simple functions, each printing one object's attributes. So that's how really it works, right? So Java, basically, on the other hand, follows very strict syntax rules. It is a statically typed language, as I mentioned earlier, which you need to explicitly declare these variable types, right? And if there's an error, the code will not compile, right, to begin with. So while it's not the easiest thing for beginners, perhaps, but some developers find they're very comfortable with the statically typed language like Java, right? So many developers don't feel comfortable following indentation rules, especially with large code bases. Let's take a look at jobs and salaries. Whoa, that's important, right? So definitely, pretty much they're at a macro level, it's fairly the same as far as salary is concerned, but both are very popular. So if you gain decent expertise in either language, you can start working as a software developer or an intern to start your career. So the availability for jobs should not be your criteria, right, for choosing the language, and that's very important. Always remember that. Choose the one that you could really relate to yourself better. So Python versus Java, right? For example, let's talk about the applications in various fields. So for example, in development, we're not going to talk about the general PC game development, for example, since neither Python or Java can really compete with C++, because that's the mother of all languages, well, as far as my opinion is concerned. So, for example, game development is a field that requires the highest possible performance to provide seamless experiences, right, to the user itself. And while Java and Python are not slow, they don't really provide the best performance for game development. Similarly, like Unity is a popular game development platform. It primarily uses C++, right? Similarly, Unreal Engine and so on. So all these high performance softwares that typically use C++. So of course, if you want to experiment with C++, you could do so, but I'll reserve that to a different lecture because that's a whole different ballgame as far as C++ is concerned. So let's go back to Python. So Python really is not a powerful option for game, but for example, like Panda 3D or other software building games with Python is pretty powerful. So Python isn't really completely ruled out for professional game development, okay? But it is an important tool for game developer, as Python is a popular scripting and fairly easy to use for many developers, right? Including game developers. So editing packages like Maya, for example, or scripting language, Python is definitely recommended. As far as the web development is concerned, right? So at backend web development, which languages are used? So backend web development is primarily concerned with creating software that will run on the server. So, and that's the most powerful development field, by the way, according to Stack Overflow's survey. I'll put a link in the description, okay? So starting from scratch is not only hard, but really it's difficult to cover all the design requirements, the security aspects, reliability, and effectiveness. So that is why developers created a framework, right, which is an abstraction in software that allows you to build your back-end technology without reinventing the whole wheel. So the most two popular frameworks of Python are Django and Flask, right? So Flask is a micro web framework, gets you the basic functionality you need to, approving requests without much overhead. Django, on the other hand, is a more featured option, help you build powerful backend while capitalizing efficiency and security. So Django is really powerful. It has an ORM layer, right, for databases and performing different operations on the data itself. But Java, can't forget Spring, right, is the most popular backend framework with massive ecosystem and huge community around it. So Spring is used by Orange, Dell, GE, and many other enterprise organizations, right? And while it's not as trending as Django nowadays, it is still a powerful option for building enterprise level applications. So machine learning is another aspect. Let's see how these two languages are used, right? So Python definitely is a fully fledged programming language. So it became a popular option for people in different disciplines, especially in data science or big data analytics. We use Python pretty much for running on big data. And that's why a lot of the development in AI or machine learning is done with Python, with a huge ecosystem and libraries. So for example, TensorFlow, Keras, or Scikit-learn, Facebook's PyTorch, right? By far the most popular language in the field. Java, on the other hand, is also considered a good option. It's not bad when it comes to machine learning. It's easy to debug, and of course, it's already being used for a large-scale enterprise-level applications. So among all these libraries you could use in that area are, Mallet, for example, deep learning, and all these libraries are also available in Java. So, in summary, let's take a look at, here's the quick comparison, right, between the two languages, covering the main points that we just talked about. So, Java and Python are both capable and popular languages, so there won't be a lack of resources once you choose and embark on your journey with this specific language. But if you're new to programming, it is definitely recommended to start with Python because it uses like English-like syntax, right? And I do have a full course, by the way, on Python. It's a 7-hour course right here on YouTube. It's all free if you want to take that. But if you want to take the paid version, which is minimal, you can go to claydesk.com and learn without any distractions, right? That's important to you. Go ahead. So either way, you can learn it for free or you can go to claydesk.com, right? So if you're thinking of getting into Python, for example, which of course is highly recommended, especially if you're into AWS DevOps or Azure DevOps, either way, this Python language will definitely help, and it will help you if you focus more on scripting and of course like shell scripting. That's a different ball game, but I'm going to talk about that later on. But sticking with Python is definitely recommended. So go ahead, take that full course. I'm going to put a link in the description, and of course you got to like, you got to comment, and of course hit the bell notification so you get notified every single time. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Please don't forget to take a look at our memberships at our YouTube channel, because within our memberships I've created 3 tiers. The first is a beginner, and then intermediate, and then of course professional. So with some of these courses that I have are strictly available only to members. Okay, so yeah, please go check that out. I certainly appreciate that, and thank you all for the support and love for ClayDesk. My name is Syed, and I'll see you guys next time.